Joining me via Skype from Zurich is International Sports Press Association and biographer of Oscar Pistorius, Gianni Merlo. Gianni, thank you so much for joining us. You know Oscar Pistorius. You've co-written his biography. What went through your mind when you heard this news?
Naturally, I was very shocked because, you know, to receive early morning a phone call from a friend that telling me such a reality, I thought that I was still dreaming, was a nightmare. And now I don't know what to think because the situation is very serious, and it's very difficult to understand because the information are still not clear. But the only clear thing is that the young lady passed away. This is terrible.
But what we are hearing, Gianni, is that this is no longer a case of where he was claiming his home had been invaded and he was shooting at the person who was invading his home. Now he's been charged with murder. Does this sit with the man that you know?
Yeah, unfortunately, I must say that I've seen this house when he was building it 5 years ago, no? And there's a kind of small fortress because there is a big wall around. It's two floor, and I guess that maybe that he was so tense in that moment to react in this way. We will know better when the police will give us the detail, because Oscar is a man full of life. Sometimes he reacts very strongly because he's a wild young guy as many others, no? Because he was amputee, but he has always felt himself normal. He never felt to be different from any other, and he grew up in the best way, without any complex. Sometimes it happened to him to react in a difficult way, because there was already another accident in his house, but during a party with another lady that after called the police, but after he was discharged because there was a kind of hidden plan behind this.
Mm. Gianni, if I could just come in there, what do you know of Oscar's girlfriend? Had you met her, and how would you describe the relationship?
No, this girlfriend I have not known because it's 1 year and a half that I don't meet him personally. We were in the same place, but I was working very hard in another part of London, and so it was impossible to be together because he was always very busy, and we couldn't stay sometimes together as we did when we made the book together, because it was for me a fantastic experience, the book with him. Living with him in Pretoria, going around Pretoria with him, seeing the old house and the new house coming up, and also knowing the way in which he was thinking, and also his generosity, because we have not to forget that in the last years he went many times in Mozambique or in other countries to bring prostheses for the people, for the poor people that were not able to pay for a couple of prostheses, and to give them the dignity to walk again. And I think that this is the other good part of Oscar.
Gianni, the man you're describing there, a kind man, a generous man, certainly doesn't fit with what we're hearing here of four bullets being fired into his girlfriend, and now Oscar being charged with murder. Without trying to prejudge this situation at Oscar, I do want to ask you about whether there was another side. Was there an angry side? Did he have a temper? Was there a violent side?
No, there is that he has a temper is for sure. Because sometimes he has to react. For example, when he has had the accident with the boat, it was a reaction on somebody After a fight, he went on the boat, on the speedboat on the river, and he has not seen an obstacle, and so he was close to die if a friend has saved him from drowning. And this was a violent reaction to a situation. I think that he has another side, as everybody of us sometimes has other side, as a different reaction. Maybe that sometimes he can have a violent reaction, but not at this point. Nobody could believe that he can react at this point.
Have you ever seen physical violence from Oscar?
No, personally not.
Gianni, in the time since you've heard this news, have you had any opportunity to call anyone who is close to Oscar, to speak to any members of his family?
I have found all the phone or switch off or busy, unfortunately. And after I was here in a meeting at FIFA, and I couldn't make other phone call. But this morning, early morning, when I have tried, also with the manager that he was very close to him, with an old uncle that I have the phone number that I knew in that period, but it was impossible to reach them. Because I've seen that the father has make a statement, has said something, because also the father was living in another town compared to him. I think that the person that has more relationship with him in Pretoria is his brother or the sister that is a very nice, quiet girl.
Gianni, knowing him as well as you do, and you worked very, very closely with him, what would be going through his mind right now? Can you put yourself there with Oscar in a police cell trying to face this ordeal?
I think that he is completely devastated. Knowing him, I think that he is devastated, because he's a guy that has fought to reach a point for the people that has disability. He has reached his goal. He has had a big success. He became a kind of hero, and now all the reality is completely different. I think that is something devastating. Knowing him, because he is also sensitive, and unfortunately, you know that violence is one of the face of sensitivity.
What about the Oscar Pistorius that you got to know during that period? We know that he is someone who overcame enormous odds. He fought so hard to be treated as an athlete, not a Paralympian, but an Olympian in his own right. That was very important to him. He'd lost his mother when he was a young boy. What does that do to a person over those years, to have to fight so hard and to struggle against such odds?
Well, I think that he was ready for a big change in his life, but maybe that in the last 2 years something is changing a little bit, because he's still young and a kind of an inexperienced man, and so something can have help him or as guide him toward a tension that is quite dangerous. Maybe that in the last period was very tense. But as I told you, unfortunately, in the last period, I've never had the occasion to stay with him, so I can't judge the situation.
Gianni, was he someone who forged or formed relationships easily? Was he an easy person to get along with? What about his personal relationships, girlfriends and so on? Was his personal life smooth? How would you describe it?
No, for what I've seen and I have experienced, was very smooth, because he liked women as everybody. He has had always a very nice fiancée. When I was there 5 years ago, there was another blonde girl, very young, very kind, very pretty. And I think that he was acting very normally with the ladies. What we don't know is the background that is in his mind, because I think that he suffered a lot. The fact that the mother passed away when he was young, and maybe that he has suffered a lot when the father and the mother split.
Gianni, just finally, for people now who are watching this, who thought they knew Oscar Pistorius, who had held Oscar Pistorius up as something that was all that was good about sport and someone who was a courageous person, but are now hearing this other story, what would you say to people looking at Oscar Pistorius right now?
I think that let's wait to know exactly what happened, and after we can judge him, because we can't judge him till when we don't know exactly what happened in that house that night. Because I think that there is something in the life that is very difficult to explain if you are not involved inside. And let's wait. I hope that was a tragical mistake, but if he has shot this woman, he has killed this woman, but in some way also himself.